And the question was, do I need to act like, boys or men to be successful in my life? Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee with the UI Girl podcast. And I'm really glad to see all of you here. So, as you guys already know, that today we're gonna talk about us, women in tech, and people like us. So, before we start, let's go around the table and introduce ourselves. Starting with Manashni.
Hi, everyone. This is Manishwini Das. I work as a software engineer at Red Hat. It's been 4 years, or maybe a little more than that, that I've been working in this industry. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Manashni. Nancy, anyone?
Yeah, I can go next. Hi everyone. So this is Nancy. I work at Local Stack and I'm a CNCIP ambassador as well. I'm mostly in DevOps. I also have founded Women in Cloud Native community for all those women who are more focused on DevOps and the cloud native technologies. So that is what I do. And in my free time, I like to do art, cycling. And thank you, Anisha, for inviting me to this podcast. It's going to be amazing. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Nancy.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Anisha, for this opportunity. And I'm myself Faroza Farman. I work at SAP Labs as a software engineer. I work in a team called SAP BTP, which means SAP Business Technology Platform. We usually work on cloud, Cloud Foundry, and apart from that, I'm also an early talent ambassador who represents the early talent or who are new joinees at SAP. And I'm also involved in our events team. So that's about me. It's been almost 5+ years at SAP, and it's a great
Oh,
journey. Yeah,
great,
thank you.
that's amazing. Um, well, it, it's 2023 now, and we have been talking about women in tech or feminism in general since so long. So I would like to know your opinion on whether should we still talk about women in tech, and why is this awareness still valid or still important in our society? Anyone wants to go first?
Okay. I would like to say one statement. The question where you are asking that whether we should talk about it or create an awareness itself is the answer. If it wouldn't have been required, this question would have never come, first of all.
Right,
So, till this question will be there, so there is some lag, I think, which is already there in the society, which needs to be taken care of or which needs to be aware. Maybe city like Bangalore and any other metropolitan city, we have a lot of people who are who have created that awareness and they are creating a balance. But still, when it comes to smaller cities, the gap is still perceiving. Yeah.
right. Anybody else wanna say?
Yeah, I'd like to add to what Faruza said. I completely agree with her. I think, I mean, when we are talking about data scientists or engineers in general, just talking about the workforce, it's not just the men who are working in this industry. There are women as well. As more and more women join the workplace, it's very important to talk about this. Is because of the fact that there are different battles that women fight that people are not aware of. As women only we are aware of it, and we are speaking about it, and only if we don't speak about it, then people won't know about those battles, those silent battles that we have won over all these years, over the bias that we are facing. And even in the industry we are facing some sort of bias here and there. And there are people who still raise their eyebrows whenever we say that, okay, we work as a software engineer. They're like, you're an engineer, and so on. So I feel if we there is still a need to talk about women in tech, is because of the fact that even if you work, there is a lot of things, lot of I mean, I would say a lot of things are expected of a woman that is not expected of a man. I mean, I should not be talking about gender specific roles, but even if you're working, you're expected to contribute more to the household as compared to men, and many other issues like that. So if you talk about this, if you talk about women in tech, then we'll be able to touch upon these issues, and maybe help other women in this industry, and maybe let them know that okay, there are people who are juggling work, life, kids, pets, everything, and they are able to thrive just fine. And if you are thinking that this is a barrier to your to your career or your dreams, it's not the case. And there's, I feel it's, there's still a need to talk about this so that people know about the battles that we fight every single day, and people are not aware of it. Yep, that's all.
Right. Yes. Also, you mentioned this, right? There are a lot of challenges that women specifically face in the industry, and due to that, in those challenges, only a lot of people just back out from being in this domain, and saying that it's not safe, it's not the time, you won't get time to handle everything. But also coming to a very genuine question that arises in mind after that is, considering all these struggles and all these cases, do you feel that somewhere we have to put more efforts in workplace to be successful rather than someone else who is working in general? Do we feel that pressure on ourselves? Anyone who wants to
Yes.
take it?
Times. I won't say always, but at times, yes. I mean, you might be going through uh, a very, distorted personal life, or as a woman, what you go through, right? There are some days when you have different moods, or different, you are in nature more emotional as compared, and you have to work, keeping that emotions aside. And it's not just emotions, but your so many hormonal changes. It differs from every female to other female, and at times it gets difficult. But still, when you have taken any responsibility, you have to be accountable for it, whatsoever the situation be. And
Right.
if you are, suppose, mostly in India, we observe this, that women are expected to do all the household chores when when you leave the home. And it might be a presentation where you have to put in the most effort, and it might be that today morning you won't be able to cook, but your in-laws, even your husbands, even your home, I mean, even your own parents, they sometimes expect you to finish your work and then go. So for a woman, it becomes the household chores as the priority. And that, those at times, that pretty moments are really difficult for women. And they put a lot more efforts. They would prepare the things the night before, and next day they prepare for the presentation as well. And then they come and show it to their organization, that they are worth it to be in the organization. Yeah.
Very true. I mean, I can totally relate, right? When you're feeling down or not feeling well in a particular day, it gets very difficult to even, express that feeling in front of your team. Mentioning that what happened, why I am not being able to work today. And even if you take leave, you get that pressure that okay, there are people who didn't take leave for this reason. Maybe I should put double efforts to just catch up with them. And yeah, this needs to be addressed somehow. So yes, anybody else face the same pressure?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the workplace, because I've worked on pretty a lot of workplaces, and I feel like it really depends on the co-workers as well and your managers as well, because there are really generally very, like, genuinely very good people as co-workers and managers, where I never had to face this issue of proving myself or things are just smooth, because men are also equally understanding. So I feel like there is in general more awareness needed amongst men as well, and women as well, as co-workers, that we are two different people, and how can we just make things work well together. Because I feel like there is a requirement of diverse thoughts in the teams as well, so that we can just understand both the genders. But yeah, but I would just like to add on what Foroza has said, that it really depends on the co-workers as well.
So, how do you guys think, organization can incorporate this emotional intelligence, or is this behavior or this diverse thinking process in their employees? Because I see a lot of organizations organizing sessions and events. Do you think those are actually effective in when it comes to actually practical implementation of those thought process or behavior?
I think it really depends on. So there are two things to it. I feel like if there are more women in the team, then this thing automatically gets more highlighted. I mean, if there is a women in the leadership, then I've just genuinely seen that there is more empathy amongst the team, and people just understand, because she's also as a leader giving the perspective, adding the perspective. So I feel like if we have more women, like equal ratio, or maybe a good enough ratio, then this just comes out organically, because now everyone can see different various perspective, because even amongst women's, there can be different perspective of different women, just as men there could be different perspective of different men. So I feel like this can be improved with definitely the gender ratio if being improved, and more uh, women in leadership, which I feel, I was just pondering, like in India I feel that there are so less women in leadership. I was just pondering about it yesterday, that I don't see many examples. I mean, I was just thinking that I see so many examples outside India, but in APAC region I see quite less. So that is also one thing. Also, the second thing is, we need to talk about it more openly. Even if there is a man in a leadership, he needs to talk about it more openly. That can also add value to the team. Like, if your leader is empathetic, no matter if it's a woman or a man, then things change. I've just genuinely seen this, so I feel like there should be maybe workshop around empathy in the leadership, which can maybe explain both the cases, because that ratio gap is going to take time. It is happening, but it is going to take time. So meanwhile, we can also train both the genders to have more empathy, more understanding, because they've just seen so many men in the tech, or maybe that had been there in the past, and things are changing. So efforts need to be done from both the sides. Yeah, that's my perspective for this.
Well, while preparing for this session, I came across a study which completely aligns with your point. Already there are 23% women in the workplace, in the tech workplace. And from those 23% women, only 5% women actually return to workplace after maternity leave or after taking a gap. So it's quite evident that there are obviously less women in leadership or in senior position, and which is actually true for even bigger organizations and startups per se. And also, uh, I was fortunate enough to work with quite a few women leaders, and I absolutely love working with them. But I have also seen a couple of my friends and in general colleagues or acquaintance working with female leadership, and there is always some kind of resistance that I see. The kind of conversation they have with female leadership is very different from what they would have had if the manager or the leadership would have been a male person. So, do you think subconsciously, somewhere, be it a woman or be it a man, we have that kind of thinking for a female leadership?
um I can go. So, I feel there is that completely depends upon the team and the company and the way they look at women. If they have many women in the workplace already and in leadership positions, they do not really, care about the gender. But if there are less people, then they usually feel that, they usually at times they feel that women leaders do not actually have the core knowledge of stuffs, and they might be having some different ideas about, okay, she's maybe very good at communication, but she may not be knowing all the core stuff, and so on. So but again, this depends. This is completely, I would say, completely and I think in smaller companies or like startups, if there are like less women, they are like skeptical about women joining the workforce at times. Even in lower positions, they ask very easy stuff, and they are like, okay, maybe she'll be able to answer this, and so on. But and also there are times when people do not ask very super or overly technical questions to women. But again, this is completely, I would say,
Yes.
subjective, and I cannot possibly put this under a single mold. But I would say that it's completely subjective, and completely depends upon the company.
Well, yeah, I mean, in general, I think this notion is very famous that women are not good at analytic, logical thinking. Uh, we are deemed as more theoretical and emotional beings, which we are, but we can also think logically and, understand tech pretty well. And also, I think I heard this in the very beginning of my career in a conference, I believe, that women actually do 70%, and in their mind, they perceive that they have done only 100, if they do 100%, they think that we did 70%. Pardon me, I reversed it. And it's actually reversed for men. If they put 70% effort, they think that they did 100%. So this kind of imposter syndrome usually happens to women. So personally, I would like to know how do you deal with that, because I'm sure that many of us feel that sometime or the other.
I think, this very much comes from how we have been raised by our parents. Usually, most of the parents, they say that women should not do this, should not do that. You'll not be able to lift this heavy things you're going through, your periods this time, or maybe you're weak. You should take more care. You should not do difficult things. Why to take so much of risk? Why to go to such a place where it is dark and you need somebody? So this imposter syndrome has to be there. Obviously, it will be there when such you will be taught from your childhood that you're always dependent either on your brother or your on father, or you need a group to go somewhere to lead the place. You're not even given the opportunity to take any decisions because all the decisions are being taken by your parents or somebody else in the family who is elder than you or who is supporting you. But the question is, if you have progressive parents, if they are teaching you, then besides being having this imposter syndrome, you will fight against it. I mean, I at times I had been in situations where I was myself going through this imposter syndrome, and I just told to my grandfather, okay, that it's really difficult to crack this. It was about one exam, and he was like, these are just bullshits, and these are not spoken by somebody who wants to grow in the life. So and I just realized I'm just looking at the negative side of myself. To bring it to a positive sentence, I have to work on it. And uh, because of the fear of this imposter syndrome, we don't even try. So first we should try and do that. How can be it done? And then we can also go for perseverance if we fail once or twice, and eventually we will be able to do it. So it depends a lot on your company with whom you are staying. It is believed that you are the average of the five persons you are close to. So it really depends on them. It depends on your family and whomever you spend your time with. May it be your organization, may it be, in my organization, especially SAP Labs, we are given the liberty to make mistakes. They say that eventually you're not a doctor. If you do any mistakes, it is not going to be harmful to any person. May it be some loss of some money or some loss, some delay in the production. That's totally fine. So I feel it's a very vast field in engineering, and we have the liberty to do mistakes and fix it and get back with good results.
Yeah, thank you, Faroza, for your points. I would like to add that it also depends on, because I've seen a progress in myself, so I'm just talking about my progress. I think it also depends upon instilling the confidence. As Feroza said, there is a bit of less confidence if your upbringing is in a different way, or if your surroundings are in a different way. But I could see a lot of change when I tried to do activities which could help me in my confidence, even if it means talking to other women about their experiences. Because if sometimes you talk about their experience, or even to men, and then you realize that, oh, okay, this is happening with that person as well, so it's pretty normal. Because I think imposter syndrome happens when you think that everyone around you is smarter, but the moment when you talk to so many people and you realize that no one is perfect, some of them are just faking it. They're just good in faking it. And that's what I've realized as I grew up, that a lot of people are faking, and a lot of people are just having this attitude that we'll figure it out, that's okay. So I feel like no one is perfect, and when I talk to so many people, men and women both, I realize that no one is perfect, and some people are just good in presenting it better, or hiding their fears better. And everyone goes through this once or twice, or maybe multiple times. But yeah, I think talking and sharing your experience with each other helps in this.
I'd like to
True,
add as well.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just about to mention that because I have been in touch with Anisha for like a good close to 8 or 9 years, with Nancy more than 5 years, with Faruza, I think all my life, not sure. But to be very honest, even I agree with Nancy. I got a chance to speak to each of you personally, and that's when I realized that I'm not alone, and whatever I've received is not because of sheer luck, but because I am, you know deserving, and I deserve to be in this place, and I deserve this position and whatever I'm doing, and I'm worthy to be here. But to be very honest, after I got a chance to talk to other women, that's when I got the confidence, and I was like, okay, others are also dealing with this. And I also asked them, how do they keep up, how do they cope with such type of stress and such type of syndrome. But uh, and I learned some tips and tricks here and there, and I try to borrow some tips and tricks as well. But again, I would say the biggest thing that helps me, helps me cope up with this kind of stuff is just seeing the other women around me, like all three of you. So that has helped me a lot in my journey, and I'm like, okay, if she's able to do it, she has a lot more going on other than, obviously I don't compare my life with you all, but I understand your what do you call that, your struggles, because I've been in the same position, I have the same worries, I have the same stress. So yeah, uh, that's all.
Well, yeah, true. Talking to people actually makes us realize what they are going through, and helps us be more empathetic towards them, and just in general be more have more gratitude for the things that we are being able to do, right? Because anyway, like we always, I mean, at least me, I always, whenever I do something, I feel like, okay, what next? So that does add up to more stress. But yeah, talking it out always helps. But with that, coming to, I have two questions. I'm gonna divide it into two parts. So, uh, in general, it is there are multiple surveys where it is said that women face more imposter syndrome than men. So when we actually feel like an imposter, then our confidence also lowers accordingly. and that is also visible in the for example, if I'm going for an interview and I already have it in my mind that maybe I'm not good enough, that shows up in my negotiation skills, and it gets to our mind that how much we deserve basically. So do you think because women struggle with imposter syndrome a lot, that is also like a difficulty in transparency, addressing the wage gap between men and women? I have personally not seen it with my career, but I'm just curious. Did that ever occur to you folks, or have you seen that happening, at least in our surrounding?
Uh,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
Manaswini,
nice,
go
go ahead.
ahead.
Nice, go ahead.
No, 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 I just wanted to clarify. Do you mean that having less confidence or imposter syndrome affects your interview and like how you get the pay or other factors? That's a question. Okay, got it. Yeah, Manaswini, you can just go ahead.
Uh, no, I feel that all boils down to the individual, like be it a man or a woman. If they feel they are not worthy, they are not gonna ask for the exact amount. They are gonna, lowball themselves. But if you have that confidence and you feel that other people in this industry who have maybe similar skills are earning this much, and you must be talking to your peers, right? And maybe peers from other companies, and you must be knowing what sort of a pay that they must be getting, maybe a range or stuff like that. Nobody discloses their salaries, of course. But I would say that if you have that confidence, you will be able to do that. You will be able to negotiate better. But yes, I agree that confidence plays a huge factor in deciding what you're worth and what you should be going for.
Yeah, I agree, Manaswini. I just wanted to ask, sorry, add uh, that there was one instance which I've seen. I'm not talking about my personal. I'm just not mentioning was if it was me or someone else, but there was this person and they showed less confidence. Ideally, a manager should try to motivate as a good manager, but instead of that, that person snatched the opportunity from the other person. So, what I wanted to mention was that there are good people and bad people both, and confidence really matters. And whenever you feel that something bad is happening, people should speak out because yeah, that's the thing. So confidence really does matter. It's always good to work on yourself because you can't always expect that your coworkers or maybe your managers are all equally that empathetic or good, because this is a very natural phenomenon that some people tend to snatch things. So yeah.
Yeah,
I would
totally
like to add
makes sense.
one
Please
more
go
thing
on.
here. Yeah. So I would like to add one more thing here. Coming to the confidence. So everybody in this world, they love appreciation. And when you are working in an organization, or you are doing any anything at home, at personal life, and if you encourage them with whatever talent or whatever knowledge they have, on the basis of that, if we can appreciate them, though there's a policy of appreciation in most of the organizations, and especially in my organization it's there. And everybody is awarded on the basis of what they are best in. You cannot be good in everything, but there would be certainly one thing where you are the best, and this is there in in each team, in each places. So I think appreciation plays a very very important role in building the confidence. Whatever you have lost, if you have gone through a bad phase and you have lost that confidence, it can be pulled back if your peers, if your colleagues, if your atmosphere is full of appreciation. So that also should be implemented if it is lacking in any organization, I would say. Yeah.
Regarding appreciation, right, and we also talked about hiring process. I have seen a couple of organizations whose hiring process is actually very different for men and women. Specifically, college grad hires. The process gets relatively simpler for girls, and compared to that, they add up more question for boys in the interview process in terms of diversity hiring. Uh, so I would like to know your idea on it. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of it. Actually, a lot of organizations do this just to just to hire more girls, but also at the same time, same thing, right? If a person is solving, be it from any gender, solving two questions and getting the same role and same appreciation, but another person, be it whatever gender, they are solving more questions and getting into same pay grade, same role. It's kind of unfair in that sense as well, right? But it also seems fair in a way that women are all there are already like less women in workplace. So I would like to know your thought process regarding that.
I'd like to go first. um, I would say that this only happens when there are like women centric conferences. I don't think this happens a lot when you are applying independently to companies. I mean, because the role is set, the job roles and responsibilities are already there, and let's not talk about the women applying less, because we have imposter syndrome. We are born with it, and we live with it. But there are more men applying, and but I think the interview process is equal with independent, you can say, when you're independently applying to a company, not through any diversity conferences or women centric conferences. But you know but again, and I know we get a lot of questions like that, and there are a lot of men in the industry who also comment on this. They are like, you must be a diversity hire and so on. That's when we start questioning ourselves. We are like, am I really a diversity hire? Am I not capable enough to take up all the issues that I'm being provided with? Maybe I don't have that power or that uh, cerebral intelligence to do this. But I just feel that we cannot stop whatever is happening in the industry right now, because the companies also have to show a certain level of diversity to maybe be more approachable. Again, this is a controversial statement. I may be blacklisted for this, making this statement, but again, they also have a quota to fill, and we cannot possibly change that. But again, I'm happy for all the women who are able to leverage this and are able to crack these interviews and get to one of these positions. Maybe there are a lot of people who are returning to the industry, like the women workforce was returning to the industry after a maybe a break. So this is very helpful for them. So I'm not against it, I'm not for it, I'm just maybe going with going with the flow also. So yep, that's all from me.
Okay. I know it's a bit controversial when I heard of this, and also, yeah, like sometimes it doesn't also happen from conferences or any program in general. Also, when they do a mass hire, right, this happens, and it's very common. It's a very common practice. But I did hear a lot of Quora questions and in general social media posts about it. And it is very subjective. But yes, I just wanted to know what in general women are thinking about it who are already in tech. Anybody else have a
I
say in this?
I want to add. So I've observed that this happens with few organizations, that they have to meet certain criteria of the number of women, the number of autistic people, or other genders who are there. So to include the diversity, but I feel you can always train them, and you should see the ability that they can be trained and they can work in the organization as well. So, if they are meeting such criteria, I know we cannot stop that, but at least they can actually make them worth to do that. So that's one point. And second point, I would say that say suppose if you have two kids at home and you're the parent, so obviously you will give little more attention to your kid than the younger, who is who has to learn more. So I think that can be given in the training period, but of course, at the final statement, it should be judged equally. So that's what my say is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a controversial topic. I remember in my college. Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I remember in my college and even on code forces, you will find these big columns, because I know that so many people put a lot of efforts in competitive programming. I haven't done it because I'm from a different background, DevOps, but that's also not much of interest to me. But I do keep a check about all the columns, and I do know that there was such a big thread where people were fighting because a lot of people put efforts in the code forces, and code forces is one of the very good challenging place. And if someone is doing a lot of efforts and they are not getting into it, and someone with less efforts are getting to it, so this has created a lot of mess. I feel this. So there are two parts to it. One is, can we make improvements to the diversity hiring? That's something which maybe all of us could brainstorm together. We need men as well, because there are few men who actually did comment to me. As Manaswini mentioned, I've seen people commenting that, "Are you a diversity hire?" So definitely there's a problem there as well. I mean, so basically, I think both of them should address this problem. Uh, this needs a little bit of brainstorming that how we could do. But I would like to add that diversity, I genuinely feel that it's really important in the organization, because having homogeneous or homogeneity in the organization is not good in general. But we need to figure out that what are the best ways to achieve it. So few ways are already there. I think there are so many women things like outreachy, where there are so many efforts to mentor women, to train them. There are so many communities. So few things are already happening, I think. Even I think from organization level, they also need to brainstorm that how the diversity hiring can be done in a better way. And also, I think there's a training needed for everyone in this scenario, so that no one just comments something like, "Are you a diversity hire?" And also, the fair opportunity is given to everyone. Yeah.
Right. And as we already discussed, right, it's very important to maintain that organic thought process inside your organization or team. You know, like for example, like people go for these sutta breaks and those kind of brainstorming sessions and all. And it's very difficult if you are like just left alone, and that happens to quite a lot of team,
Agree.
right? And even like even not just an office scenario, a lot of people also reach out to us in like social media, be it Twitter, LinkedIn, or something, and the conversation starts in a very different way. I have seen the LinkedIn profiles of my male colleagues and friends, and I don't think anybody asks them on LinkedIn, where are you from, how are you, and all those kind of questions before asking for referrals. I think I don't think a lot of guys get that kind of questions as well, and I'm pretty sure you guys must have received them as
Yeah.
well. Uh, how do you usually deal with that? I get very annoyed with the kind of questions. I really want to have them, but then it just, I mean, how does it matter where I'm from or if I had food or not? So,
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, for the first part which you mentioned, the sutta break and all, I totally agree. Somewhere there is less inclusivity, even in the personalities. Like, if you want to be a part of that sutta break gang, you have to be like them. I've seen so
yes,
many women changing themselves to become like that. That is not fair. And then someone just commenting me that, "Hey, you could be like that. She is so cool." I mean, no, I mean, I don't want to be like that cool person. I'm me, I'm Nancy. You have to accept me the way I am, like the way I'm accepting you the way you are. So I feel that's why I'm mentioning it again and again since the starting, that there needs to be in like this needs to be done from both the end. And I think
right,
maybe that's the tragically this is the reason that since this is not happening, so many companies have to focus on diversity hiring and all. So I don't know, this is the sad part. And also the second part which you mentioned, like how do you deal with it, I tend to ignore those messages, to be honest, because now I've become quite filtered in my, I don't know, as I mean, I don't have time for bullshit. So, so now I've become like, as I'm growing up, I tend to ignore those things. And I generally tend to pay more attention to good people around me. Yeah.
I would
Um,
like to add to that.
um, Yeah, I just wanted to add a really quick point. Even in both scenarios, right, in office space and offline in social media, subconsciously we have opted to do that, like just ignore. Like maybe this is not happening with me. Maybe I'm just overthinking. So let's just make it slide and let just things settle down. But these certain things do happen. It's not like people say us bad things or people say us very rude things or just ask us like things in paragraph just to say these subtle things like are you a diversity hire or we are going for a sutta break, let's see you later. So those are very subtle hints of these things that actually happen in our workplace. So yes, Manushri, you are about to add something.
Yeah. I didn't. I would say that the sutta breaks wala thing that happens mostly in the beginning, but I mean, I have never faced it because maybe I have been in one organization for very long, but I haven't faced this. They have accepted the fact that I am not interested in this, and they only ask me about the stuff that I'm interested in, and that speaks volumes about uh, the attention that they are paying to me and the attention that they're paying to my interests and my individuality and my personality. So I actually completely appreciate that. And at times I was like, okay, this is something that is a given, but that is not a given. I think it requires efforts to be that attentive to people's personalities and opinions and the way they are. And talking about the second one, I'm going to share a very short story. So what I do is I'm not on top mate, but I usually mentor people whenever somebody reaches out to me. I am somebody who offers free mentorship for somebody unless they get a job or maybe do a free resume review and all of that. So and I'm completely proud of it, and I do not intend to monetize that at any cost because that is my again my personal choice. So what happened was there was this guy who asked me for some help with Python back in 2019, but I think that went really far. I had some sessions with him. I taught him some stuff. I shared some tutorials, shared some resources, and and again I know I was not supposed to share my number, but because of the fact that I have been continuously mentoring this person, so I was like, okay, I can maybe share my number and all of that. So after I shared my number, it went down a rabbit hole. I'm telling you, it didn't go well. And that person completely, he literally cyber harassed me. And he started speaking stuff like, and I'm like, dude, you are, younger. Then you should be having some sort of a decorum. I mean, you didn't approach me like this in the beginning, but suddenly you are like, I don't know. He was speaking some rubbish. I would not mention what he did, but he started speaking something extremely out of line, and that is not acceptable for anybody to face that again. But again, I sometimes feel that I am the one responsible for it. I should not have done that. But again, because of that, there's this trauma that I have whenever some male mentee reaches out to me. I'm like, should I share my number, should I not share my number, and so on. I literally blocked his number everywhere, but he still contacted me using different numbers from his friends and so on. So, but very recently, I took a chance after 4 years. It took me 4 years to again build that confidence that, okay, even if it's a guy and, maybe things won't go well after this, maybe, conversations, maybe that guy has a different, idea and so on. So, what I did was I took this chance. I just plunged headfirst into mentoring another guy very recently, and he turned out to be completely different. He's a completely very decent person. Okay, and we have set up this weekly mentoring sessions, and I connect to him, and I'm like, whenever he feels like there is an opportunity for him to learn, he shares that with me and asks me whether that's a good opportunity or he will be just wasting his time doing that and so on. He asks my opinion, and he always is very appreciative of all the help that I have been providing to him and so on. So again, this is subjective. I would say that because of some few people, the a whole platform is getting polluted, but we should that should not be the case. But again, women, if you are facing this, everybody is facing this. And again, even I used to ignore a lot of these mentoring messages, but I took this chance this time, and I'm not regretting it. I'm like, okay, I found at least one male mentee who is not speaking something out of line, who's genuinely interested in this mentoring session as much as I am.
Well, I think, people just take it very casually and they just do these things, they say these things, and they think that, okay, the other person is gonna ignore it because they can't do anything about it or they will just forget about it. They don't realize what kind of, emotional and mentally how it's gonna affect the other person in a longer run, how it's gonna affect another person whose chance that person is taking away. They don't realize that, and it's that awareness, at least that kind of empathy people in general should have. But yeah, sadly, maybe in future, sometime that awareness will be much more than what it is right now. So yes. Okay.
Yes. I mean, your point was really, really good that, uh, so at one stage in our life, we see that, nobody has the time to talk to anybody. Like, mostly at this age when, we are in our late 20s. And this is same for both men and women. And I have observed that, whenever a man gets a chance to speak to any girl, most of them, they just try to speak anything and everything without thinking that whether they should speak it to the concerned person or how is it going to affect. This is something really we need to take, I mean, care of. We need to, inculcate this within everybody, that we should, you know be professional with the person whom we are, and we should also take a consent when we are sharing something personal. And they should, adhere to not misuse it. Like Manaswini's number was actually misused. So, they should abide by the things which they are accountable for and take care of that. So that awareness, I think, is pretty much missing today. I mean, people, they assume that it is being taken care of, but it is not most of the
Yes.
cases. Yeah.
And it's not just about age, right? Nobody is actually, entitled to help someone or give time to someone. So you should be grateful if somebody is, offering their time in general. Like if I ask somebody to have a session with me or have a recording with me or whatever, it's my responsibility that their time is respected. And
Exactly.
similarly, because I have been even like Manashini, I also do a lot of mentoring sessions, and I have been stood up multiple times. Like people won't just show up, and I'll be there for like 10-15 minutes. So, I mean, irrespective of gender, this is in general a huge problem.
True, true. Yes, this is irrespective of gender, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, moving on. Recently I read a question on Quora for which I thought, recording a session on women in tech is actually important, even though there are multiple available already. So there was a question asked by a very young girl who I think, is just completed the 11th or 12th as mentioned in the post. And the question was, do I need to act like, boys or men to be successful in my life?
Yeah,
So
that's
I
yeah.
know, right? Shocking. So I just want to know, if you see a younger version of yourself in that age, what would you like, advise them or tell them in general
Yeah.
if you get a chance to see a younger version of yourself
Yeah. I think
10,
that
12 years back?
Yeah, I think I would like to add. So that's what I mentioned in my previous question as well, right? Like this sutta breaks, which you mentioned, that some people think that to be a part of that group, they will have to be like them or behave in a way that they accepted. So unfortunately, it's sad that the situation is like that, that she has to ask this question, because even I felt very uncomfortable in few of my jobs where I just didn't know that how to get involved in this group, because I don't do smoke and or something. And I'm not saying that all the men do it, but we all know that there is a group, and I think some of the men or some of the women or some people, they just get left behind because of this. So I feel like there's in general needs an education that people should be more empathetic and inclusive, and that should be the standard of cool or like good thing. I mean, I think right now the standard of the definition of cool is very has been set very bad, that like
Yeah.
all these groups hang out in the office, they are so nice. That's something which we have given power to. I think we need to stop giving this power to them. And if this would have happened in me, I'm not sure what made her ask this question on Quora, but if this would have been happened with me, I would have definitely just asked that group that, hey, I mean, why do you think that this is only one way of interacting? I mean, you could just involve me. I could at least share my side. And if they don't do anything, then it's their part which is wrong, that they are not respectful enough to uh, respect my space. But I think definitely we should try, and we should not just be like in our own shell and just accept that nothing can be done. We should not do that. We should at least try to, from our end, at least someone has to take a lead, right? So it could be anyone from the team, be a man or a woman. So we can at least like we can try from our end. If nothing is happening, then I don't know, maybe change the workplace or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, I would add some points. So first of all, what is a boy type lifestyle and what is a girl type lifestyle? I mean, why?
Surprisingly, there is a difference. Surprisingly, there is a difference of that in workplace. As Nancy mentioned, right, being cool and yeah, the example is set
Yeah, I
completely
mean,
wrong.
it's a stereotypical situation, right?
And it's even bad for men. Trust me, there are so many
It
friends of
is.
mine who don't do these things. They feel bad. I mean, some of them just accept it and are confident of how they are. But some of the men, they get into this trap and then they start doing things to become cool. So this is not just for women. I mean, I just want to answer that girl. This is just not for women. There are
I
some men who must be thinking that what the bullshit is this.
I would like to add
Yeah,
my point
yes,
here.
go
So
on.
it's again a part of my personal story. So I like biking. Okay, when I say biking, it's geared biking. Okay, I also own a bike. So I bought it last year
Wow.
itself, and I literally had to answer everybody that why did I chose to buy a gear bike instead of a non-geared one. Okay. And I was like, why is this question? Is it written on a bike that it can be only rode or ridden by I mean, man? Is that so? If I have the
No,
strength and the ability and I know the skill to ride it, why not? So
bike is actually still like a, you know, don't even, let's not even go to bike because not a lot of women, no, there are not very few women who do that. Still, it's increasing, but a lot of women, mostly all women nowadays, like know how to drive a car at least, right? And every time when I talk about, driving a car or anything, people just advise me to take an automatic one. What's up with that? Right? Just take an automatic one. It's easier to drive for women. I mean, bike is still, it is anyway considered stereotypical, even in 2023. So, it is just somehow subconsciously, I think, embedded
yeah.
in people and somewhere in us as well.
So, to my younger self, I would say live your life instead of a boy type or a girl type lifestyle. Do what you like and explore yourself. You need not to do something, even if you're a girl and you need to lead a girl life, kind of, yeah, the stereotypical life, and you don't like it, you need not to do it. You can always change. But one thing to be careful is about the health. So if you're comparing in many things, it is different for women, it is different for man. So when it comes to physical health, please take care of that. Mental health, please take care of that. But coming to mental growth or the ability to think cognitively or analytically, you can always do as you like. That would be my suggestion. Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. I think all of this boy type, girl type thing, even I started questioning a lot of things last year when I'm like, okay, this is something, okay, makeup is worn by women. Who said that? That's when I started questioning myself and I'm like, okay, I mean, even men wear makeup, right? So we should not be, there is a lot of, stereotype there as well. Whenever a man wears makeup or man wears some kajal, like not even makeup, it's some
Yes.
kajal, they are questioned about it. They're like,
Yes.
why are you doing this? This is a girl thing and so on. That's when I started questioning it. And I started calling out the people who were commenting like that. You're not realizing, but you're, indirectly exercising that stigma that is there in the society by, making someone feel uncomfortable with the way they are. So even when I was young, I had different ideologies, and I think that this is because of the case is because as women, there is this shame factor that is associated with us in every way, like in all the spheres of our lives. They're like, don't sit like this, don't walk like this, and so on. And if we tend to, go out of that mold and do something of our own, that's when we are questioned. That's when we are like, okay, you should not be doing this. This is not girlish. Being overspoken, being outspoken is not girlish. Having a loud voice, speaking loudly is not girlish, and so on. At one point, even I was adhering to it, but I would quote my father. My father started when there were people who were doing this in my family, not my parents, of course. Where there were other people who were doing this to me in my family. That's when my father started calling that out. He's like, how does it matter if she speaks loudly? That's good, right? People can hear her. So
Yeah.
she's got a loud voice. So, that doesn't matter unless she is disrespecting somebody and so on. I would say I would completely, but then at that point, I didn't realize that these things were affecting me and this was affecting the way I am. But at one point, when I would say I reached that point really late, a little bit late, but again, it's better late than never. I started this pandemic, especially this pandemic. I got a chance to rethink a lot of the things that I, believe in, and that's when I started, opening my mind and rethinking, like, okay, this should not be something that I am changing unless I am injuring somebody or, disrespecting somebody. If it is if it is not harmful, then it's good, right? So I would say to my younger self that, you know world is your oyster. Try to retain as much of yourself as you can, because the world is here to snatch all the things that you love. But please hold on to all the things that you love, hold on to the people, hold on to the emotions, feelings, whatever you feel, and do not feel ashamed of the way you are, and be comfortable in your own skin. That's all.
Right. I mean,
And be the right.
like, yeah, I mean, regarding that, having, talking loudly, right? I generally have a very loud pitch. And my mom still calls out to me. Is like, why are you talking so loudly? We can hear you. You can't talk like this in front of relatives and all. And yeah, I think for me it also like boils down to just owning myself, because as Nancy mentioned, right, people just have a very different notion of being cool, and it's very easy to get impacted by that. Like, because I remember during my engineering, we used to go party and they used to have like a group, and that was cool then. And now the definition of cool is something totally different. So it's not always, we can't just go with wherever the herd is going. It's I think I would just say, just be yourself, just recognize yourself, where your strength lies, where your weakness lies. And
Yeah.
I think that's gonna land you wherever you wanna be.
Yeah, I just wanted
So
to add one more thing to it,
yeah.
Anisha. Like we talked about like few things which you mentioned, like having a loud voice or something. This happens with my parents as well. But what I wanted, the same thing happens with men as well. I feel like we, when I mention we, I mean I'm talking about us also in general, like women and men. So we also expect them to be in a particular way that because I
Yeah.
know that I had few men who had these feminine characteristics and they admire it, and to be honest I admire it. I admire some men who have these feminine things, so that's like a personal choice. I mean, so I feel like in general we should be less judgmental towards both the genders, men and women, and like other genders, and we should be just less judgmental. And whatever the work is, like if we are talking about the work in itself, let's just focus on what work we are doing, the skills, and also be inclusive and more accepting. And I just want to mention it that I have seen this change by having more, being myself, having more self confidence, and also being with good people. So as Manaswani mentioned, like if you have good people around you, just keep them, because they are really helpful in boosting your confidence. Sometimes you need it. So and I genuinely want to like thanks few of my managers as well, or co-workers who have changed this perception, because I had like mixed set of people in my life who had given me a bad perception, and some have given me a good perception. And that's why I feel like both the things are there, and we need more and more people, both men and women, who understand this and are less judgmental. Yeah, and who are ready to
I,
put
mean,
effort. Yeah.
yeah, I
That's
mean, I totally agree. Yeah. I'll just say my point really quick. I mean, I totally agree. Men have a totally different set of struggle because I have talked to like many of my male friends, and they have this pressure of settling down and do well in workspace and just excel at everything. And it's not just about feminine side of them. Even like people who are they're just in general expected to be more masculine, and that pressure is always on them. Like my friends, they go through immense this pressure of settling down, having a good job, having a house, having a car, because society just expects that. Like we have a certain uh, types of expectations uh, from them as well. And I think both go through totally different kind of struggle in our own worlds. Yes, Manashini and Paurusa.
Yeah, so yeah, we were talking about sutta breaks and stuff like that. So I'm just talking about the people who are there to bridge that. You get it? There are people in our team, people around you, who are unsung heroes, I would say, because they are somebody. They are like they keep they do not really ostracize you, but they're like, okay, you're not going for sutta break. Let's go for a juice break and so on. So I'm just like, I would just say, I would like to give a huge shout out to all those people who give genuine efforts in this space to include other people. And trust me, you're not mindful of it at one point. Even I unconsciously am doing that right now, because whenever I see somebody who is ostracized, I'm the one who goes and speaks to that person. I'm like, because I know how it feels to be alone. So I don't want somebody else to, go through that. But again, I understand their boundaries. I understand that a person can be introvert, a person can may not be okay with communicating all the time and so on. Once I read that, I always try to read the room. Of course, at times I'm dense, but at times I'm not. But again, I try to read the room, and I genuinely, I would say, huge shout out to everybody who is putting efforts in making that other people
Yeah,
making the other ostracized people feel wanted, and and so on. And again, I agree to the fact that Anisha said about men having a lot of pressure, about settling down, having a car, and so on. And I and another thing that's there is you know there is a lot of stigma attached to men crying. They're like, they always
yeah,
ask not to cry in public. They're like, men don't cry and so on. And I completely agree to that. I am somebody who has a lot of male friends, of course, but again, I always ask them to cry. To be very honest, I always ask them to cry whenever they are feeling sad. And I have always I have been that person who has lent a shoulder to a man as well, and I do not judge them on that. I ask them to vent their feelings out because they are humans as well. There is no men and women here. Everybody has emotions, everybody goes through bad phases, everybody wants to cry at one point. So but
Yeah.
again, there is a lot of change that needs to happen. Again,
Yes.
again, as Nancy mentioned, there's this education thingy that needs to happen, and that happens in the workplace and the people you're mixing with. So I would say that if you're seeing that somebody is like getting pressured or into doing something and so on, or maybe pressured into being somebody else, someone else, someone apart from who they are, it would be great if we can try to bridge that and try to make them feel wanted. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, the right we say that behind every successful woman there is at least one progressive man, be it in workplace or family or anywhere. So yeah, definitely, there's a huge credit goes to that set of men as well, right? Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would like to add one point to Nancy and one point to Manaswini. So first I would go with Nancy. She was telling about how to be little less judgmental towards women. At the same time, one more thing there should be there. You know, women are always scared, or they're made afraid that you are going to have a tough situation, may it be personal life or work life, or an in-laws place or any new place. Instead of that, I think, instead of scaring, you can prepare them. Say suppose you're sending them somewhere, you can maybe workplace, so you can teach that these could be the risk factors involved there. You have to be prepared for that. So
Right.
that should be from the home, from the organization, and everywhere. Like in my organization, we have something called raw respect at work, and it has been highly taken care of. They literally go inside and find out whose mistake it is, what sort of thing it is, and that's applicable to everybody. So, in general, it should be for everyone. But in case of women, instead of scaring them, you should prepare them. That's one. And coming to Manaswini's part, I would, about this crying of men. Nowadays, I feel forget about men. Even if a woman is crying, people don't consider it as cool. The new coolness is, be motionless, and that's the coolness. And I feel that is really, really ridiculous. You are humans. How can you be emotionless? I mean, that's the one thing which differentiates you from any other organism in the world. I mean, they might be emotional too, but we cannot observe that. We cannot analyze that. But as a humans, that's how we feel each other. So it's okay. It's absolutely fine to be emotional, to cry, even out there in public. But yes, do not keep it inside. And I think this is why depressions and stress is increasing in today's world more. So I think it's really not cool to be emotionless.
Yes, I think like diversity and diversity in thought process can only thrive when we let people, you know, have organic thinking and also no, just allow people to be vulnerable in workplace or in general in life, right? So yes, okay, ladies. Yeah, I know the session had to be for around like 45 minutes, but we have been talking about such amazing topics. It's already past 1 hour. So, with this, I'll conclude this session. Thank you so much for joining me. I had really fun, and this was a very, very amazing conversation that I had. And yes, thank you so much for giving time and all the best and have a good night.
Thank you, Anisha. Thank you for your time and giving us this opportunity. to speak out here, what you feel about the questions you had. And it feels amazing that people are having these questions and they want the answers to that. Thank you, Manaswini and Nancy, as well, for being the co-panelist, and nice time with you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
I think I have had individual conversations with each one of you, at least on one of these topics that we touched upon today. But it feels great to accumulate all of this, and I hope that this helps. Thank you, Anisha, for hosting me, and thank you, Nancy and Farouza, for being amazing co-panelists as well. And have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.